Hello again.
I'd better get going.
Fare thee well.
Hello?
Hi, Bess, it's me.
So what's been happening? Tell me everything.
Well, let's see. Since the last time we talked, I was just about getting ready to...
Interesting stuff.
But the reason I called is, I need you to talk to this doctor named Gilbert Buford, who, as it turns out, likes to hang out at a gumbo stand called Granny Pumpkin's Cajun Cookin', which should be right across from our hotel.
You just want me to talk to him? That's it? Nothing nefarious? No black ops stuff?
He was Bruno Bolet's doctor, and apparently his best friend, too. I just need for you to see if he thinks there was anything weird about the way Bruno died.
What do you mean by weird?
I mean, I kind of think maybe Bruno was murdered.
Murdered? By whom?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Everyone's a suspect at this point.
Including this Gilbert Buford guy?
Well...
Great, I'm gonna be chatting up Jack the Ripper.
Oh, I'm sure the guy's fine, but be subtle, just in case.
Well, I can see the gumbo stand from our balcony. If he's the guy that's sitting down there, I guess he looks harmless. Okay, I'll go talk to him.
Thanks, Bess. Let me know what happens.
Cheerio!
Why, hello, young lady. How kind of you to grace an old man with your lovely presence.
Are you Dr. Gilbert Buford?
I'm delighted to report that I am indeed.
Do you mind if I join you?
Of course not. A little lively discourse would brighten this gloomy evening considerably. This here is my favorite spot in the whole city. Delicious gumbo, pleasing view, particularly now, I might add.
My name's Bess Marvin. I'd like to ask you some questions about Bruno Bolet, if that's okay?
I'd prefer subject matter of a happier nature, but I do not want to seem inhospitable, so what is it you want to know?
Is it true that Dr. Bolet was your best friend?
Well, now, I was certainly his best friend, but I cannot honestly say that he was mine. Fact is, while socializing with my fellow man, particularly with pretty young women such as yourself, has always been a source of pleasure for me, Bruno was just the opposite. Unfortunately, the older he got, the more numerous his idiosyncrasies became, and the less concern about their negative effect upon others he became.
How exactly did he die?
He died of a myocardial infarction, most likely caused by age-related atherosclerosis. Dying of a heart attack is all too common for people who are socially isolated, and Bruno Bolet had most certainly become that.
Did they do an autopsy on Dr. Bolet?
No. Given Bruno's advanced age and the absence of any indication of foul play, an autopsy was deemed unnecessary, and the body was cremated according to Bruno's wishes.
I hear that you're a member of the Jolly Rogers crew. Is that true?
Perhaps I am, perhaps I am not. I'm sure someone as charming and attractive as yourself has her share of secrets, too. Am I right?
Be that as it may, just what is a crew?
Crews are organizations whose primary purpose is to put on parades during Mardi Gras. They also put on fabulous parties. Very private parties. Members only. Some consider crews to be private clubs. Secret societies is a term others have used. However, back in the 1990s, the city decided not to issue the Jolly Rogers any more parade permits, unless they opened their crew to pretty much anyone who wanted to join. So, refusing to be blackmailed, they chose instead to simply not put on parades anymore. As far as the city is concerned, the Jolly Rogers no longer exist.
Are you saying the Jolly Rogers do still exist?
Perhaps. Perhaps not.
Did Dr. Bolet ever say anything to you about owning a crystal skull?
Why, yes. Yes, he did. In fact, he showed it to me once. Said it had magical powers. Said owning it was going to allow him to live forever. I thought it was utter nonsense and told him so. Well, he didn't appreciate that at all. Refused to talk to me for a full 2 weeks.
Do you have any idea where he kept it?
No. He was terrified that someone would steal it from him, so he told no one its location. Not even me. Tell me, Miss Bess, what do you know about that crystal skull?
This friend of mine, who is also a friend of Henry Bolet, you know, Dr. Bolet's great-nephew. Anyway, while she was visiting Henry, she saw this book in Bruno's library about the legendary crystal skulls and was kind of intrigued and thought that since Henry said that you were pretty much Bruno's only friend, maybe Bruno had said something to you about it, and as it turns out, he had. That's all I know.
I see. Well, much as I'd like to believe that skull holds the key to immortality, I'm afraid Bruno's passing proves it's worthless. Although it would make an attractive paperweight, as I recall. Tell your friend not to give it another thought.
Dr. Bolet's housekeeper says you just happened to walk in just as he was having his heart attack. Is that true?
Indeed it is. I hadn't seen him for a while, so I picked that day to pay him a visit. I walked up to the front door, found it unlocked as usual, opened it, and there he was, lying on the floor in obvious distress. The next thing I know, his housekeeper came running in and started shrieking and carrying on, until finally I sent her out of the room so she could summon an ambulance, and I could once again hear myself think. Then well, let's see. Then I knelt down and saw that he wasn't breathing. So I pulled him away from the doorway so I'd have more room to work on him, and began chest compressions. I continued until the medics arrived, but nothing they did made a difference either.
Was Dr. Bolet unconscious the whole time?
Yes, he was.
Can you remember anything that might indicate what he was doing by the front door? I mean, had he just come in from a walk? Was he wearing a hat? Was he holding anything? Had he dropped something? An umbrella? Sunglasses?
Wait a minute. Why, yes, he was holding something. A piece of paper. And on the floor next to him was an envelope. He must have collapsed while reading a letter.
Do you know what happened to it?
Now, I know the letter was no longer in Bruno's hand when the paramedics arrived, so perhaps he released the letter when I moved him. And yet, I do not recall seeing it on the floor when they wheeled him out the door. Iggy.
What's Iggy?
Iggy. Iggy is an iguana Bruno befriended, then turned loose in his home. It soon developed the annoying habit of stealing paper and stockpiling it in the vent system.
Are you saying an iguana made off with the letter Bruno had been reading?
It would not have been the first time a missing document ended up in Iggy's possession. Renee would periodically call me saying the lizard had absconded with one of Bruno's prescriptions and would I please write her up a replacement. In any case, Bruno once told me he was training Iggy. Said he taught Iggy to retrieve the things it had stolen.
Do you think it's possible that Renee caused Dr. Bolet's death by, say, hoarding the pills from those missing prescriptions and giving them to him all at once?
No. Had he died of an overdose of the medications I had prescribed, the manner of his death would have been quite different. But he died of a heart attack. Of that I am certain. However, I know for a fact that Renee is deeply involved in the practice of hoodoo. And as Bruno's housekeeper, she had ample opportunity to use it against my poor old friend.
You mean hoodoo really works?
Young lady, never, ever underestimate the power of suggestion. If a person believes in something, even on a subconscious level, fantasy can easily become fact. And who knows what rubbish Renee filled Bruno's mind with? Drink this, don't eat that. This brings good luck, that brings bad, day in and day out. Even if he said he didn't believe a word of it, who knows how much his subconscious was absorbing? He was very old and vulnerable. So could Renee have caused Bruno to have that fatal heart attack? There's not a doubt in my mind she could indeed.
I've bugged you enough.
It's been a pleasure, I assure you.
Hello?
Bess here. Oops. Looks like Dr. Buford decided he's had enough gumbo.
He's not at Granny Pumpkin's anymore?
Nope. But here's what else I've learned since I talked to you last.
And that's all she wrote.
Excellent. Thanks for the report.
Stay in touch. See ya.
Iggy, how about a nice, juicy loquat?
Hello?
Hi, Bess. Listen, you busy?
Why?
I need you to do something for me.
What?
I need you to infiltrate the meeting of the Jolly Rogers crew that's about to be held at Rampart and Dumaine, which has got to be right near Zeke's. You're going to have to look around for it. Now, to get into the meeting, you'll need to put on that skeleton man costume you saw in the back room. And once you're in the meeting, you'll need to listen for the name that opens the meeting so you can tell me what it is, okay?
No.
Beth, I know you don't like to do stuff like this, but this is really, really, really important, and it'll be the last thing I ask you to do. I promise.
Oh, all right. I don't suppose it would do any good to point out that the curio shop is closed.
You'll find a way in. Oh, and if anyone at the meeting asks, the password is Scuttle's Bones.
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
That's the spirit.
What's the password?
Password? Right. Let's see. Scuttled bones.
Better hurry, we're just about to start.
Welcome, my fellow Jolly Rogers.
know that
We
voice.
have several pressing matters to discuss this evening, so let us begin. As you may or may not have heard, certain city officials are attempting to deny us the right not only to gather in public places during the Mardi Gras season, but they have also seen fit to...
Shoot, I forgot to turn off my cell phone.
It seems we have an uninvited guest. Get him!
Let go! You're making a big mistake. Let go of me. Look, I'm not here to make trouble. You're making a big deal out of nothing. Can't we just talk about this? Where are you taking me? If you just let me explain.
Why, it seems our trespasser is of the female variety. Let's have a look.
That's right. You know me and I know you, Dr. Buford. And I also know that you were the one who attacked my friend over at the Bolet Mansion today. And if you don't tell me why right now, I promise you, you are going to be in one big world of hurt.
The young lady's clearly upset about something. Clarence, take over the meeting while I try to find out why she's making all these crazy accusations.
They're not crazy and you know it.
I will tell you everything, Miss Marvin, in private.
And he did. He told me everything, Nancy. I bluffed him into confessing. You would have been so proud of me. Oh, and before I forget, the name they chanted at the start of the meeting was Jean Lafitte.
Jean Lafitte. Great. Now, what did Dr. Buford tell you?
Okay. First off, he said that with his dying breath, Bruno Bolet directed him to steal the painting of Henry's parents and lock it up in Henry's parents' crypt. Bruno seemed to think that way Henry would wind up with the crystal skull instead of somebody else.
So Dr. Buford dressed up in his skeleton man costume, stole the canvas, and hid it in the crypt like Bruno asked.
That must have been when Renee saw Mr. Death.
But then, Dr. Buford had second thoughts and decided to heck with Henry. He wanted that crystal skull for himself. So this afternoon, he dressed up in his skeleton man costume again and snuck into Henry's house so he could get the key from that mini cemetery and retrieve the painting he'd left in that crypt, knowing the painting would somehow lead him to the skull.
Only I walked in on him and ruined everything.
Right. And now that we're onto him, he says he no longer wants the skull. He's embarrassed that he allowed his superstitious side to get the best of him and says whoever finds the skull is welcome to it. At least that's what Dr. Buford said. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, what?
I told him you were looking for the skull.
That's all right.
Actually, I told him you were on the verge of finding it.
Why would you tell him that?
I don't know, I got carried away. So if he lied to me, and he really does still want the skull, then he might come after you. He left right after we talked, and I don't think he went back into that meeting. What if he's on his way over there?
Don't worry, I'll be fine. Why don't you just... Whoa, that bolt of lightning was huge. Anyway, why don't you just go relax, and I'll be back at the hotel before you know it, okay? Bess? Hello? Bess, you there? Nope, she sure isn't. Come and get it, Iggy. Iggy, how about a nice, juicy loquat?